Welcome to From Caving In to Crushing It, the podcast for those who find themselves immersed in adversity and choose to write their story instead of having others write it for them. I'm Drew Duraney, and I'm your host. Dorothy, it's so good to have you on.
It is amazing to see you, my friend Drew.
Not that I'm counting, you've already had me on your show twice. So and that's not why I'm doing it. I wanted you on because you are an awesome human being and you've got a story to tell. And no better time than the present to get down to it. So thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think everybody has a story. It's just some of us are brave enough to tell it and some of us aren't. So
I agree with you. You know, the thing is, if you're passionate about about what you're talking about and your story has led you to somewhere that's going to help people need to hear stories. And so you're doing it well, and what you're doing, getting people to tell their story, and that's what I'm working on. So, you know, we all know life is not linear. We didn't wake up one morning at age 7 and say, I know what I want to do in my life. Not many of us have. I know you have stories to tell. Go for as far back as you feel comfortable to really pinpoint that time in your life where you realized in your gut, in your heart, in your head, there's something different and I'm going for it.
That's a great question. You know, looking back, the really defining moment when I was younger was always constantly being bullied, right? And having that low self-esteem and not really putting myself out there because, you know, being overweight as far back as I can remember, it was always a thing, right? And no matter what I tried, nothing worked. And really just being discouraged. And basically, I was that girl that did not want to be front and center of anybody's attention and made it a point to just stick away from everybody. So much to the point where, so the first guy that came along that said he loved me, I was just like, I believed him, right? And well, that turned into a nightmare. And so
no, you seriously can laugh about it now.
4 years of verbal and mental abuse on top of being bullied and being abused all through school. I'm like, no, I'm surprised I'm not curled up into a ball. But then not realizing, actually just now realizing that, you know, all that led to mental health and mental and things like that. And I guess that's why I'm a huge advocate today for it. But you know, I guess those moments defined of where I am today, right? Because without those moments, I would not be doing what I'm doing. And, you know, my grandfather, I was the only one out of my immediate family that wanted to be an entrepreneur. And my dad and my brother and my mom would all like, well, I can't believe you'd want to work for yourself. You know, you should just work for somebody else for 30 years, you know, punch in, punch out, collect your pension at the end. But nowadays we don't have pensions. No, and so, you know, and I don't know. I think my first business was a candle business of all things. Babysitting first, then candles, right? I used to sell party light candles. and then, you know, that just went from travel to a whole bunch of other different things that I'd done in my teens and early 20s. And then, you know, but my parents would always, it's like, well, you put too much into it. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not for you to say. And but what I didn't remember until recently was my grandfather, my dad's dad, was an entrepreneur as well. He worked at Hiram Walker's in the duplicating department, but then he also had a side hustle in the basement, right? He was a printer. Right? Yeah. And when he died, like that, he actually donated his printing press to the museum. That's how old it was.
I love it.
And it was all right. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm not the only entrepreneur in my household.
You were not.
And I was just like, damn, you know, too bad I couldn't tell that to my parents because my grandfather saw it. The one that was bugging me the most didn't see it. And I mean, whatever. They were trying to protect me, and
Of
I'm
course,
no
that's what
way
happened.
slamming my parents,
Oh
right?
yeah,
They're
no, that's
just
what
trying to
parents
protect
do.
me.
Right, right, absolutely.
And so, yeah, so yeah. And it's funny because Grandpa would always help us when I went over there. We'd always go in the basement and I perforate because he used to do tickets for the Legion.
Okay.
So they have to be perforated so that they could easily rip them apart. And I remember going, I don't know how young I was, but I
Mm.
can still remember doing that or stamping them. Because back then, he didn't have the electric stamper. So you
Right.
had to number the tickets as
Oh
well.
my gosh, I love it. So you were
Right?
an entrepreneur at such a young age and you didn't know it. You were helping.
Exactly.
You were helping
I was just
grandpa.
helping grandpa. I was
I
just helping
love
grandpa.
it. Oh, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful story.
Well, thing is, this is the first time I told it because this is that's how I remember. This is remembering it for the first time.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, isn't that the point of telling stories? Because you jog, all this stuff's in our brain and it's all covered up by other stuff. So it
Mm-hmm.
really takes us telling our story and to uncover things that make us smile, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want the smiling things buried, right?
No. No.
Yeah. All right. So young entrepreneur working her way up. And so what happened after the candle business?
Oh, friend. Well, after I sold it to everybody, like my aunt was my biggest customer and her friend was
Uh-huh.
my biggest customer.
Right.
Wait, next to my mother, because my mother, oh my God, if she had one candle in the house, Drew, I think she had $10,000 worth of candles in the house at one point,
Oh
like
my
over
God.
the span. It
I
was
love
it was
it.
insane, but
I
the
love it.
house smelled good.
Oh yeah.
Um, so from the candles, it went to financial services, which I am not an insurance agent. Let me tell
Okay.
you,
Yeah.
I can't sell insurance to save my ass. But anyways,
I
that's a whole
love it.
other
I
topic.
love it. From
Um,
candles to financial services. Okay. What was next? This should be good.
travel.
Oh,
I used
yeah.
to sell discounted travel packages, man. Those things were great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the company just went out of business this year.
Oh, not a shame.
Um, but yeah, like you could have traveled the world for pennies on the dollar was their slogan.
I love it.
Cold calling my way. And I used to, of course, I would buy leads back then and talk to everybody all over the world because, I was in the Eastern time zone and I was
Right.
speaking with people in the Pacifics, out in California and
Yeah.
stuff like that, not even realizing that. And I would work all hours of the day and night. My dad would come in and like, "You're still working?" I'm like, "Yes, I am." Uh, but in 1 month I had sold 3 packages, which grossed me close to $10,000. That was the first time in my life that I had
Wow.
ever made that kind of money in my life in
Oh
one
my
month.
gosh. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know, right?
That's great. Okay.
And then I don't know, I got in my head, because that's what women do. We put ourselves down and get into our head. And I don't know what happened from there. From there, it was just like an uphill battle, trying to listen to everybody else except for myself.
Mm.
Funny. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm glad this
Guys,
is on
men do
tape.
that too, by the way, just so you know, not
I did,
just the
well,
women.
I'm glad. Well, funny story because when you were on my show, you had said that men have a nothing box, and I've been
Yeah.
using that. I've been using
Ah,
that pretty much everywhere I go.
yes.
And the guys look at me. I said, "Dude, this came from a man, so you can't get mad at me." But
Uh-huh. Yeah.
women overthink everything, where
Yeah.
men have a nothing box,
Yeah.
and so, well, glad that men overthink things too or get inside their head. But
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah,
it's the difference between that if we realize we don't want to think, we have somewhere to go. We don't maybe not use it as often as we should, where the women don't have that capacity. You guys are thinking all the time. I get it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you overthought the travel business.
I did.
Ah,
Yeah. I
jeez.
overthought the travel business. And then, yeah, life went into a tailspin after that. Like huge, 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 huge. Um, a lot of financial ruin out of that one.
Ah,
But I got to travel the world. I did a lot of personal development. I traveled the world following
yeah.
Danny Johnson.
Okay.
Well, not the world. We'll say the United States. I'm from Canada, so I
Okay.
traveled. Texas is an amazing place, guys. You need to go to San Antonio,
Yeah.
go to the Riverwalk if you've never been there.
Mhm.
But learned a lot about myself. Found myself in that left the abusive relationship
Good.
Found some amazing people at those events.
Good, good.
Yeah, got myself back, you know.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Oh, proud of you for working on yourself, man. A lot of people don't admit that we need help, and we do. We can't do it alone. So what happened after the whole traveling and Danny Johnson? You're back. You worked on yourself. What
Yeah.
happened?
After that, oh, let me think. All right. So that took a 10-year healing journey trying to find myself. And I thought, I kept saying I wanted to be married. I wanted to be married.
Yeah.
And so then on my 40th birthday, I went on my very first missions trip.
Okay.
Changed my life forever.
First business trip. Where were you working at that
No,
time?
you
What is it?
know, missions trip,
Oh,
missions trip.
mission.
Yes.
Ah,
I had always
how did
wanted
that?
to go to the mission field.
Oh,
I
okay.
have a spiritual mom that like really, she goes, is if you do anything in your life, that's one thing you got to do.
Okay.
So I signed up with Servant Heart Ministries and I
Okay.
went over to Dominican Republic
Wow.
and spent a week over there and just loving on kids. These kids could be happy in a field full of like garbage.
See? Yep.
They made
Mhm.
a ball out of, I don't know, some garbage that was there. They
Yeah.
played kickball.
Yeah.
We did skits for them.
Hmm.
I sat down in the middle of the field and had all these little girls around me. They were playing with my hair, braiding my hair. I
Oh,
have pictures of that. They took my phone, took pictures,
I love it.
and then one of them stole my sunglasses, and I had to get that back.
Oh, geez.
Um, but it was an amazing life-changing event. That was the year
Mhm.
I turned 40. That was
Okay.
the year my mom turned 60.
Okay.
And in the middle of that week, my dad's baby brother from Taiwan passed away. So my dad was trying to get a hold of me.
Oh boy. Okay.
And so my uncle was a missionary. My uncle spent a lot of his life. He was in the Canadian Armed Forces, and he was did a lot of things with kids. He was a teacher out in Taiwan.
Right.
And so I decided the rest of that trip would be in his honor. I had his backpack with me
Ah.
and stuff like that. And really, when the smell of that where we were at was, I could just close my eyes and I could still smell it. It was like
Okay.
they burned garbage.
Yeah.
So it was either you're smelling garbage or you're smelling poop or you're
Oh,
smelling
geez. Yeah.
whatever. The cows are just like so disgustingly undernourished
Yeah.
that it like their skin and bones.
Yeah.
You have to go in the middle of nowhere to go to these markets and things like that. But
Wow.
these people had nothing and they were so happy.
Yeah.
And I came back and I made a decision that I was no longer going to live with my parents after I'd been left by an abusive relationship. I had moved back in with my parents and getting myself financially set again. And I made that decision that, okay, I'm no longer living with my parents. I'll make it work somehow. Got my
Right.
first apartment when I never should have.
Right.
I don't know how they approved me, but they approved me. And so, yeah, so I could remember, I love that apartment. It was small, but it was
Yeah.
mine.
Of course. Yes.
And, did what I wanted, went to the gym when I was a gym rat back then,
Right. Yeah.
I worked 2 part-time jobs back then. And I just really was, trying to get myself into shape. And I was training for a half marathon.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you. And so, yeah, life was great. And somebody had said, and I decided, I've been trying to find the man of my dreams. Right.
Right. Right.
And so someone says, write a petition to God and put it away. So
There you
I
go.
had done that and I
Yeah.
continued on my healing journey.
Yeah.
And I think 9 months into having my own apartment, I found my husband.
You did, and how'd
I
that happen?
did. Well, dating sites, there are some really horrible dating sites, which
Yes.
I had found them all.
Right.
But then
I've seen those.
just as I was ready to give up, I said, okay, I found up on Facebook came up and this advertisement for Zeus came up.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay, God, if this is it, then I give you 3 months. And if I don't find my husband in 3 months, I'm just meant to be single.
Okay, here we go. Here's the challenge.
That's the challenge.
All
I
right.
made that petition.
I love
So
it.
I gets on there trying to figure out how the heck this works. I have no idea. This is a whole new beast. It's
Yeah.
nothing like eHarmony or anything like
Right,
that.
right.
You have to swipe and you have to do something, and then to unlock something you have to pay or you have to wait a certain amount. And I'm like, oh God,
Oh,
here we
God.
go.
You have to work at it. Jeez.
I
All
had to
right.
work at it.
All
So
right.
this guy's profile comes up and I'm looking at everything. I didn't have a lot of requirements, but he had to be single. He had to have a job.
Good,
He
good,
had to have some kind of belief system
good. Okay.
and, a decent human being.
Okay.
you
That's
know,
important. Yeah. I
that's
would say that's a
important,
non-negotiable there. Okay.
not negotiable. And, if he helps people, that would be even better.
All right.
But yeah, like, non-negotiables where you had to be single. Well,
Mhm.
his profile comes up and it says separated. I'm
Oh
like,
boy.
swipe, swipe, swipe.
You
Like,
got
no,
out of it? Okay.
no, I got out of it.
All
And next
right.
thing you know, I hit the wrong damn button. I hit
You
the wrong
did.
button. I did. I hit the wrong button. He hates when I tell this part
I
because he
love
thinks
this story.
he thinks that I take it as a bad sign. But anyways, so I hit the wrong button and he pops up and he says, hey, how you doing? You want to chat? So I chat for a little bit. So because I had been on eHarmony and Christian Mingle, and there was a lot of losers over there and a lot of people that did not tell the truth.
Yeah.
I asked him, since he was local, I said, are you on Facebook?
Yeah.
So I asked him a bunch of questions and I stalked his Facebook page. And then I asked him questions that deliberately were on his Facebook page to see if he would lie to me or not.
He didn't know you found his Facebook page.
No, he had no idea.
Right.
He had no idea.
Okay.
We weren't friends on Facebook back then. So he asked for my phone number. He says, I don't really want to be on this app. Can we text? I'm like, oh, sure. Why not? I mean, why not? If nothing else, at least I'd have another friend in the world, right? That's how I went into this. And so I had been talking to this other guy too. And so this other guy says, well, hey, at the time I was living in Chatham, both of these guys lived in Windsor, which is about an hour away. Well, for those of you Americans that have no clue where that is. So it's about an hour away. So I set up an appointment with this other guy. Doesn't he blow me off? I was just like, okay, whatever.
That's a sign.
And that guy was the one that was a Christian. He was separated. He
was separated too? You didn't swipe that one?
No, I mean, no, he was fully single. I mean, sorry, he was fully single.
Okay, so
not separated, single. He's fully single. He had every requirement.
Oh, he hit it all, and then
he had it all, and then he stood me up. So I thought, okay, no big deal. Obviously it was not meant to be. Right. So I texted Joe and I said, hey, plans changed. I'm in town. Do you want to meet up? And he goes,
I love that.
Okay, where at? And so we met at Boston Pizza, and so my very first boyfriend, he made me wait anywhere from an hour to 3 hours, which completely pissed me off. Whoa. And I thought, how disrespectful of you to even do that, right? Yeah, so yeah. I grew up with the mentality. My dad said, if you're 10 minutes early, you're late. I was early I've been 10 minutes early my entire life. All
right. That's a good habit to have.
Except for my first meeting with Joe.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So to calm my nerves, because all of a sudden nurse started coming in. Yeah. So I messaged one of my girlfriends that lives in Windsor and I said, hey, Jessina, can you come meet me for a coffee or something? I got to calm down before I meet this guy. And, so she did. She wouldn't let me go, Drew. And then doesn't a train come up, right? Just as I told her, Christine, get out of my car, or Justina, get out of my car. I gotta go. I'm not gonna be late. Yeah. And I gets out on the road and doesn't a damn train come, and I'm stuck behind this train. So I pull into Boston Pizza and I am texting Joe. I'm like, okay, which vehicle is yours? So he tells me the blue Ram. So gets out of the blue Ram. And by this time, I wanted to, look good. So I had these boots on. Yeah. And so that made me look taller.
Yeah.
So, I go over to him, I said hi, he says hi type thing.
Mhm.
And he goes, "Oh, you're tall." And meanwhile, I'm not, but it's the boots that did the
Right.
trick,
It's the
right? And
boots. Yeah.
he's 6'1".
Okay.
And the first words out of his mouth are, "You're late." I was just like,
Ah,
holy
oh
God,
my
right?
gosh. I love
And
it. The first
and
time.
the first time, and I was just like, okay. So what I had never told him was, well, until after, I had always asked my parents, "How do you know it's the one?"
Yeah.
And my parents would always say, you
Okay.
just know.
All right.
And I thought that was the biggest BS story of my life
Right.
until it happened.
Until it happened with you and Joe.
Until it happened with Joe. And so we went in, and he had a beer because I didn't realize till afterwards. This guy was so nervous, and he had a head cold, and he had just taken some medication at home for the
Uh-oh.
head cold.
Yeah.
And he had a couple beers at home
Oh
before he
man.
came to meet me to
Oh geez.
calm his nerves
Yep.
down.
I love it.
Keep in mind, Joe is very much an introvert,
Yeah.
and really, even to go out on this date was taking something, right?
Oh boy.
Um, so yeah, make a long story short, yeah, that was we met. It's supposed to only been for an hour. I think we were like 3 hours in, and I was hinting, "Hey, let's go for a walk or something." Only he didn't get the hint. And I was just like, so he went home and I went home, and then he's messaged me the entire night. I'm like, "Dude, like, did you not catch that didn't want the night to end?" And he's just like, "Well, no, I'm sorry, I didn't."
I love it. That's some guys. I'm telling you, you can't just give them hints.
No,
That's a
you
great
gotta, yeah,
story.
apparently you gotta really tell you guys what
You
what
do,
we're
right between
thinking,
the eyes. Yes, yes.
right
Because then
between the eyes.
then you won't hear the word blindsided anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So yeah,
wow. All
that
right. So
was,
what are you doing now for like
oh,
professionally and stuff? I mean, obviously you're still with Joe. I get that and everything's
yes,
good.
yes.
So what are you doing now professionally?
Professionally, I am a bookkeeper by day.
Uh-huh.
And my what I am transitioning into is a full media production company,
Yeah.
is what is the onset. And so at the moment I have two shows that I'm producing and hosting.
Right.
Um, Thinking of adding a third,
Oh,
because I am
okay.
also a military or a veteran advocate.
Uh-huh.
And I love my military guys and
Yep.
women.
Yep.
And so I really, really want to help and support them,
Right.
like we have been for the last 2 years.
Right.
And so yeah, so with that, so we do the podcast. I also do professional interviews for
Hmm.
business owners,
Right.
and get some content for their social media.
Good.
Help them to be seen is the whole
Great.
thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it's all about right now. And if anybody wants help starting their own podcasting, that's something else that we branch out into. um a lot of people want to do it, have no idea, afraid to do it, and then you call me and hire me and I do it for you.
Right. There you go. Beautiful. Best way to outsource. Find somebody who knows what she's doing and you're good to go. And I can
That's right.
vouch for Dorothy knowing what she's doing. So, two final questions. And the first one is, so Dorothy, you're sitting with 7 to 10-year-old Dorothy, and you want to give her advice about life. What are you going to tell 7 to 10-year-old Dorothy?
Do what's in your heart.
I love it.
Don't listen to anybody else.
I love it.
Just listen to your heart and go after it.
Love it. All right. You put a different hat on, and now you're
Mm-hmm.
with Dorothy, the young businesswoman, entrepreneur, ready to go out into the world and make a name for herself in business. What are you going to tell her in terms of business advice?
Again, trust your gut. So many times, especially this last year, I've listened to other people
Mm-hmm.
and gone down a rabbit hole. And if I just would have trusted myself, if I would have had the trust, faith, and confidence in myself,
Mm-hmm.
I would be a lot further along than I am.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So definitely, no matter what people try and tell you, just believe in yourself.
Mhm.
Absolutely, 100%.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely. All right. So people now, I believe, have captured the essence of Dorothy Graham Odell, and I love it. They're going to want to reach out to you, find you. What is the best way for them to get in touch with you to get more of what you do and who you are?
Well, I am heavily on LinkedIn. So it's Dorothy Ann Graham Odell on LinkedIn, and or my website, www.unstoppableovercomers.com. Everything that we do is on there as well. So yeah, or they can email me at what is my email? Graham, Graham, Dorothy, Dorothy 408 at gmail.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, you are an unstoppable overcomer, my friend. And I'm so grateful you're in my life and we're friends, and keep doing what you're doing. And this certainly won't be the last time we talk. In my head, I have ideas of collaboration with the two of us. So we'll have to think that through when the dust settles for us.
Yes, absolutely. I'm all about it. This is, I've said for the last 2 years, I'm all about collaborating.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we go further together.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks again for coming on. And, you know, everybody out there, please link up with Dorothy, especially with the whole veteran thing, because I want to support our veterans too. So have a wonderful day, everybody, and be well. Stay healthy. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and give us a review to help others find it. I'd like you to answer this question. Are you living the life you want to live, or are you living the life others want you to live? I'd like you to think about that for a second, because I strongly suggest you live the life you want to live. If you want to learn more about what I stand for and my services and how I'm able to help many men get out of their own way, please go to my website at www.profitcompassion.com. Feel free to also email me at drew@profitcompassion.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Take care of yourself and choose to write your own story instead of letting others write it for you.